If you are holding a SRP right now, the next 60 days could define the entire year ahead. Yes, what just happened and what it actually means for your position. I'm speaking directly to the SRP holder today because there is a movement happening in the three key areas: regulatory clarity in US, institutional adoption signal, and on-chain activity that worth paying attention to. No hype, no wild predictions, just the news, the context, and what you should be watching next. And let's break it down. First, the regulatory front. At January 4, 2026, Ripple ongoing legal discussion with the SEC are entering a critical passage. While the major lawsuit concluded in 2023, the implementation of regulatory framework for SRP institution use is still being finalized. The key development this week is that clarity around the SRP classification for the institution on demand liquidity survey is expected within the next 30 to 60 days. So, so why does this matters? Because the institution client, the particular banks, bank and payment provider have been waiting for this green light before scaling their use of SRP for cross-border transactions. So, second institution adoption signal. The Ripple announced the expand partnership with the payment corridors in South Asia and the Middle East. Specifically, the three new financial institutions have integrated Ripple Net for cross-border settlement. Well, they haven't been publicly committed to the use of SRP yet. The historical this partnership have led to ODL adoption within a 6 to 12 months. The volume moving through these corridors is significant. We're talking about a billions in remittances follow annually. The SRP on chain activity has increased 18% week over week. The wallet activity is up. A large transaction, those over 1 million SRP, have increased notably. This typically indicates the institution accumulation or preparation for liquidity deployment. So now the correlation isn't a concession, but when you see the regulatory progress, the institutional announcement on chain movement happening simultaneously, and it's worth noticing. Let's look at the positive scenario first. If regulatory clarity arrives as expected, and if this is new financial institution being used as a for an on-demand liquidity, we could see a sustainable buying pressure from the actual utility and not speculation. So this is different from retail hype cycle. The institution ODL usage being consistent. The programmatic buying of SRP for facilitate transaction that create a baseline for demand. So friends, additionally, if the US regulatory environment stabilizes for SRP, other institutions that have been sitting on the sidelines may enter the market. So we have seen the pattern before. The clarity leads to the confidence, and confidence leads to the adoption. So, from a technical standpoint of view, the SRP has been consolidating in the range for the weeks. If volume increases with the positive news catalyst, a breakout is possible. But let me clear, this will be driven by a fundamental, not by empty promises. So now the other side, a regulatory clarity isn't guaranteed on any timeline we have seen days before. If this expected announcement don't materialize in 60 days, or if you have less favorable than anticipated, it could be lead to disappointment, short-term selling pressure. The second is the institution partnership don't automatically mean the SRP search. Some institutions use RippleNet without ODL. The actual conversion rate from the partnership announcement to SRP utility has historically been mixed. The third is on-chain activity can be misleading. The increase in transaction could be accumulation or they could be repositioning before a sell-off without knowing the intent behind the wallet. It's data, not uncertainty. And finally, the broader crypto market is still volatile, even with the positive SRP specific news. a micro condition. The Bitcoin movement in regulatory action in other jurisdictions can impact the prior regulatory for fundamental. So SRP is genuinely interesting in positioning right now. There's a real potential fundamental growth driven by the institutional adoption and regulatory progress, but it's not guaranteed. It won't happen overnight. If you're looking at SRP, the next 60 days are worth watching closely, not with anxiety, but with attention, and the monitoring the regulatory announcement. What the follow through this partnership? Keep an eye on whether on-chain activity continues or fade. So this is a period when news actually matters more than speculation. My advice: don't make emotional decisions based on daily price action. Focus on the fundamental. If the utility is case trend, and that's your signal. If it stalls, then tells you something too. If you're focused on SRP and want analysis like this without hype and subscription, and I cover the SRP development as they happen with the context and not clickbait. Thanks for watching and stay sharp, stay informed. And I'll see you next one, guys.